In today's video, is it necessary to track macros to get lean? Hey guys, what's going on? This is Parvella from ProPhysique.com. I hope you guys are doing okay. Difficult times, I know, but it feels like this week has been kind of a fresh start. Most of us, at least myself, we've adapted to our new reality, and so I want to continue to talk about things that are important to you guys, and so I'm continuing to take questions. So today's question comes from my Instagram direct message, which I'll put right here on the screen if you want to send me a DM. I'm going through them. Sometimes I don't reply all the time, but I do take screenshots because I am banking up good questions. Also, if you're looking for information on nutrition, on training, on how to be the best version of yourself, well, hit the subscribe button. That's what I love to do here. I love answering your questions. I love talking in the comments. So if you guys need anything from me, just let me know. And today's question comes from an Instagram follower who sent me this question, so I want to read it to you and then we'll discuss it. Quick question for you. I'm 22-year-old, finishing up college and want to get a six-pack for the first time. I have a decent build at 5'10", 180 pounds, but I've never gotten as lean as I've wanted. Do you think it'd be necessary for me to track my macros? What would you recommend for me? Thanks so much and stay safe. Well, thank you for the great message. And I checked out this dude's profile and I think he's being modest because it says he plays football for Penn State, which is one of the top D1 colleges in the country. Nittany Lions, respect. So, first of all, do I think it's necessary to track macros to get a six-pack? No. However, I'm going to explain exactly why I think you should track macros and why that's my philosophy as a coach and how I use it, though I don't think you should track macros every day or even all the time. There are inherently problems with any type of diet approach, okay? So any type of diet approach that we take to reach our goals, there is a potential issue. What I'm looking for as a coach is a diet system which gives my clients the best chance of success for the long term and teaches them the values and nutritional strategies that they can use for the rest of their lives. Now, when I started coaching, one of the big problems I found was that most of the coaches were just handing people a meal plan. Not only were these meal plans not really personalized, I saw many of clients of different age, of different size, even of different sex on the same meal plan. Well, they weren't actually very thought out. They weren't designed with kind of an evidence-based approach, and certainly not the specifics of the athlete in mind. And so when I came into the sport, I started tracking macros, and I was kind of second-guessed at the time because everyone thought, well, you can't be successful in a physique sport getting on stage with a flexible diet. Well, that's gone out the window. We've got competitors competing at the highest level across the board. And so now the discussion becomes, what is the best approach? So let's take this through your journey. So as an athlete, you're probably training your butt off and you're working really hard. And so when you're training that hard, you have a little bit more freedom with your diet. You're probably just focusing on kind of hitting your protein numbers and then just letting some carbs and fats fall where they may. This was definitely my approach, as I was very athletic growing up. I played baseball, I played basketball, even played a little bit of football, but I got more into the sports like volleyball and basketball and baseball as I got a little bit older, and this meant I was always on the go, never stopped moving. I literally could not eat enough food to keep weight on. So my goal when I was young was, I read the Arnold book. I thought, let me try to get some protein. Other than that, I just wanted to get a bunch of calories. But when it came time for me to diet, I struggled, often never really looking the way I wanted to look, not until I understood macronutrients and how to set up a proper diet to reach my goals. The best part in my mind about understanding macros and tracking macros is that it's like taking a master class and understanding what you're eating. You need to understand every food that you look at. I no longer look at food as a food source. I look at it as how much protein, carbs, fats, fiber, and what it's going to do for me and my goals. This has helped me because the issue with a meal plan, when you give somebody a meal plan and they lose a lot of weight, because if you give someone an 800 or 1,000 calorie diet and 2 hours of cardio, they're going to lose weight, they're going to get shredded. The problem with that approach that I have found is that the person does not understand why that meal plan works. They don't understand that it's the 1,000 calories and the huge deficit. They think it ends up being, okay, it's this tilapia, it's this asparagus that's actually making the goals happen. This can lead to disordered behaviors in eating. You start to look at food as good or bad. There are no good foods, there are no bad foods. The only bad foods are if you have an issue with that food, such as digestive issues. There are good foods and bad foods for our goals and for our overall approach. There are foods that are going to be a problem. They might create some cravings. There are going to be some foods that help you improve your satiety and stave off hunger, but they're not inherently good or bad. So the value of understanding macronutrients, at least as a basis, is going to lead to a lifetime of being able to transition into a different approach, setting up a meal plan based approach, which is something I do, and I'll explain a little bit more about that, but also potentially even getting into intuitive eating, because there are definitely periods of time where I do not track my diet and I do not set up a meal plan. I have learned enough about nutrition at this point that I can go out to eat, I can look at a plate of food, and I can make intelligent decisions. One of the real issues around macro dieting or flexible dieting that I found early on was that it actually deterred people from eating healthy. You see, there was such a pushback from these extremely rigid meal plans that people thought, okay, now I can just eat whatever I want, candy, ice cream, and I can fit a bunch of junk food into my diet. And so people got away from this idea of, yes, there are better food choices for us. There are foods that are more fiber dense, macronutrient dense that we should be choosing in a dieting phase. This is where I had a problem with macronutrient dieting and flexible dieting. And as a coach now, what I really encourage my clients to do is create a meal plan using the basic whole foods that we should be using, but also understanding what's in them. So do you need to track your macronutrients to be shredded? Absolutely not. You can work with someone that can give you a really good meal plan, and you can follow that meal plan and you can reach your goals. However, if you want to be self-sufficient and if you want to have long-term success at getting lean, I really suggest downloading an app. I also have a free ebook, which I'll link below. It's a free book that explains what flexible dieting, the principles are, okay? The goal is not to fit a bunch of junk food in your diet. The goal is to be able to live your life and still reach your goals, to do social situations, to understand that it's not scary to go out to eat or to go to a wedding, but you can still continue to progress. It gives you the tools to do this, okay? That's what flexible dieting is about. So I would suggest getting an app, tracking what you're doing now. And I have a video which I'll put in the first link of the comments section on how to set up your macronutrient goals based on what you want to do. Okay, the specifics around that. So I'm not going to get into those details here, but just understand that by tracking, you're going to learn what you're doing. When you learn, when you know what's going on, then you can make adjustments. It's very hard to make adjustments when you don't actually understand and you're not being accountable. So my friend, yes, absolutely. I think the first time you're dieting down to see those abs, it's going to be necessary that you're accountable to yourself in some way. And my philosophy is that flexible dieting and macronutrient tracking teaches us how to get there. Now, the last time that I dieted down, I didn't want the stress of tracking my macronutrients every day, playing this macro Tetris where I'm trying to fit in meals. So instead, what I would do is I would set up meals that I already knew what was in them. So I would just eat the same things for several days at a time. And if I wanted to make a change, I made a change on a separate day. And then I did that going forward. So I essentially set up a meal plan, a variable meal plan approach where I understood the macronutrients, I changed them, but I didn't have to stress about them every single day. This balance has been the best approach for me over the last couple years. But to get there, I had to understand macronutrients. I had to go through this period of literally looking at every food label, Googling foods, looking up foods on the RDA. Now we have these search engines, MyFitnessPal, all these options for looking up what's in food has made the process that much simpler. So it's not as big of a hurdle as it used to be. So take advantage of it. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. And hopefully, I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.